Hello, this is Spellbinder. I got this, the top 10 lies about the S510, uh, the food safety bill. It's not very safety at all. Here's the top 10 lies. I get into this because this is a pretty long article in its own self. Lie number 1. Most deaths from food poisoning are caused by fresh produce. Here's a whopping mainstream media won't dare report. Out of 1,809 people who die in America every year from food-borne pathogens, CDC estimate only a fraction die from the manufacturer's contamination of fresh produce. By far the majority of food poisoning is caused by consumption of spoiled processed foods. That's right. Not fresh foods, processed foods, stuff that's already been sterilized and put in a can. Added dead foods and animal-human transmission of pathogens. For example, one of the largest foodborne killers according to the CDC is Toxoplasma gondii, a disease that people acquire from cat feces, coming in contact with their food, which can happen right in their own homes. They'll be on this link here. I'll have this link to this article at the end of this, at the bottom of this video in my details section. Let's see. Salmonella poisoning accounts for 553 deaths a year. As a reference to relative risk, over 42,000 people die each year from road accidents in the USA, meaning driving a car has a roughly 76,000% higher chance of killing you than eating fresh produce. Where it is, the statistics. In terms of foodborne illness, many of the deaths come from things like spoiled tomato sauce, spoiled canned food, and spoiled pasteurized milk. S510, of course, does absolutely nothing to address these food contamination deaths, since those foods are considered sterilized at the time of sale. Look, let's go on. Lie number 2. Woohoo! Under S510, the FDA would only recall products it knows to be contaminated. Not true. S510 merely requires the Food of Death Administration to have reason to believe a food is contaminated. So right there, that means all raw milk will be targeted by the FDA, because even without conducting any scientific tests at all, the FDA can say it has reason to believe the milk is contaminated merely because it is raw. They can look at milk. They're like a police officer can say you were speeding and he doesn't have a radar gun because he has radar eyes. Yes, that goes over in court very well. Not. In other words, the FDA no longer needs science to outlaw a food product. It merely needs an opinion. This is the reason to believe Section really true. Yep, there how it was amended. Section 208, Administrative Detention of Food. Right there. I'm not going to read all through that. In other words, in negotiating this bill, the U.S. Senate removed requirements that the FDA needed credible evidence. Now they don't need evidence. Like he said, opinion. Opinion right here. Look, all you need is opinion. And you too can say milk is bad by looking at it. Alright, in order to recall a product and instead replaced it with the FDA only needing reason to believe. Reason to believe. Sounds illogical. It is utterly amazing that the U.S. Congress would give the FDA to conduct large-scale product recalls, even imprison people based entirely on what the agency has reason to believe. Last time I checked, the FDA held some pretty bizarre, if not downright moronic beliefs, including the jaw-dropping whopper. The FDA literally believes that there is no food, no herb, no vitamin or supplement that has any ability to prevent disease of any kind. They don't even believe limes can prevent scurvy. And you'd have to be nutritionally illiterate to believe that. Wow, you'd have to be an idiot not to believe that limes prevent scurvy. That's the only way they kept guys on ships back in the old days, on the old pirate ships and the battle cruisers that used to roam around Britain. To get from having scurvy, they ate limes. That's why they called them limeys. Imagine that. The FDA believes food to inert that all amazing phytonutrients in these foods and carotenoids and antioxidants, therapeutic fats like omega-3, and so on are utterly useless for the human biology. This belief is held by the FDA. It has now been put in charge of the food supply. Is this belief system an insane government agency that has completely lost touch with reality while abandoning nutritional science? Yeah. 3. They didn't tell you that nearly 70% of grocery store chickens are contaminated with salmonella every day. Yep, it's true. Amid all the fear-mongering over salmonella, everybody forgot to notice that the vast majority of fresh chickens sold at the grocery stores every single day are widely contaminated with salmonella. Read it there. Yet S510 does absolutely nothing to address this. It's not even mentioned in the bill. In fact, it's these contaminated chickens that end up cross-contaminating fresh produce in many kitchens across America. So the so-called food poisoning that's often blamed on spinach or onions often originates with the contaminated chicken meat people bring home and slice on their kitchen cutting boards. Unless you bleach your cutting board after every use after cutting any type of meat or poultry on it, you're going to probably leave some salmonella and other pathogenic bacteriums and viruses on there. Lie number 4, S510 will exclude and protect small farmers. Ha! The Tester Amendment, which was finally included in S510, excludes farmers who sell less than $500,000 worth of food, or $500,000 worth of food each year from more onerous paperwork and compliance burdens described in the bill. But this dollar amount is not indexed to inflation, meaning that as the U.S. dollar continues to lose value due to the Federal Reserve counterfeiting machines running at full speed, more quantitative easing anyone, food prices will continue to skyrocket, and this will shift even small family farms into the 500,000 sale range within just a few years. In fact, a single-family farm with just 4 people could easily sell $500,000 worth of fresh produce a year right now, even before inflation. Remember, $500,000 is not their profit, but rather the gross sale amount. The profit on that might be only $50,000 or even less. Furthermore, the $500,000 threshold means that small, successful farms that are doing well and would like to expand refuse to hire more people to expand their operations to avoid the tyranny of S510. Small farms will try to stay small, and that means avoiding the kind of business expansion that would create new jobs. So they're hurting the jobs. 5. This is number 5 lie. The FDA needs more power to enforce food safety. The FDA already has the power to effectively recall foods by publicly announcing a product has been found to be contaminated. The FDA already has the power to confiscate misbranded products too, and it could easily use this power to halt the sale of contaminated food items. But the FDA simply refused to enforce the law already on the books, and instead has sought to expand its power by hyping up the E. coli food scares. The ploy apparently worked, and now in the reaction to the food scare mongering, the FDA is being handed not just new powers, but also funding too. More money in their pockets, and you can bet it will find creative new ways to put this power to work, suppressing the health freedoms and food freedoms of the American people. Yes, they want you sick. The doctors aren't getting enough people. They're not making enough money. The pharmaceuticals aren't selling enough drugs. Oh well, the Food of Death Administration. Fresh produce is contaminated because of lack of paperwork. There's no evidence that's requiring farms to fill out any paperwork to make their food safe. The real cause of produce contamination is the existence of factory animal farms. I mentioned that in my last video. Factory farms are the ones that are causing this, not the small mom-and-pop farms out there. See, the factory farms whose effluent output, huge rivers of cow feces, basically end up in the water supply, soil, and equipment that comes in contact with fresh produce. Another way that produce gets salmonella, and like spinach. The food contamination problem is an upstream problem where you got to reform the factory animal operation, now dominate the American meat industry. S510, however, does absolutely nothing to address this. Factory animal farms aren't even addressed in the bill. Imagine that. Lie 7. The American people are dying in droves from unsafe fresh food. Oh, really? The truth is that Americans are dying from processed food laced with toxic chemical additives, not from fresh raw produce, particularly hydrogenated oils, white sugar, aspartame, MSG, artificial food colors, and almost certainly kill far more people than bacterial contamination. The American public is also dying from pharmaceuticals. Anywhere from 100,000 to 240,000 people a year are killed by the Food of Death Administration approved drugs, most of which have been approved under the guise of blatantly fraudulent science and drug company trickery. The FDA doesn't seem to mind. In fact, it has a willful co-conspirator in the scientific fraud carried out by Big Pharma in the name of medicine. To think that the FDA, the very same agency responsible for Big Pharma death machine, is now going to save us by controlling food safety is highly irrational. Lie 8. The FDA just wants to make food safer. Actually, FDA wants to make food more dead. Both the FDA and the USDA are vocal opponents of live food. They think that the only safe food is sterilized food with radiation and such, which is why they are supportive of fumigation, pasteurization, irradiation efforts that have been pushed over the last few years. California almond growers are, for example, must either chemically fumigate or pasteurize their almonds before selling them. This has destroyed the incomes of U.S. almond farmers and forced the U.S. food companies to buy raw almonds from Spain and other countries. Lie number 9. Food smuggling is a huge problem in America. Oh, really? One of the main sections of S510 addresses food smuggling. Yep, people smuggling food across the country. If you've never heard of this problem, that's because it's not actually a problem. Not yet anyways, but there is the reason why they put this into the bill, because they're probably planning on criminalizing fresh produce and then arresting people for transporting broccoli with the intent to distribute. That's right, it's the new drug on the street. Yet, farmers bringing fresh produce to sell on the weekend farmers market could soon be arrested and imprisoned if they were drug smugglers, hence the need for the food smuggling provision of S510. Soon, we will all have to meet the secret locations just to trade carrots for cash. Number 10. The 10th lie. S510 will make Americans' food supply the safest in the world. Bull! Actually, with S510 in place, America's food supply is among the most chemically contaminated in the world, second only to China. You can find mercury in seafood, BPA in the canned soup, yeast extract, MSG in the natural potato chips, and artificial petrochemical coloring agents in children's food. Eating the standard American diet is probably the single most harmful thing a person can do for their health. It's the fastest way to get cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. Every nation in the world that begins to consume the American diet starts to show recorded rates of degenerative disease within one generation. This is a safe food that the U.S. Senate is now pushing on everyone. Remember, the S510, safe equals dead, and the FDA says it wants to keep everyone safe. Permission granted to reproduce and post this list with credit. And I do give credit. It's to these people here, and I will show you them. I'll take you back to the top, and naturalnews.com. Originally published December 1st, 2010. Tell your senators. Like I said, write to people today. Stop it in Congress before it goes to the pencil-whipping President Obama, who will be helpful to do that. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger and Natural News Editor, who wrote this. So there you have it. The end of everything. The end of our free food. You become a new dealer of a new type when they pass the S510. So get out there and start calling, start writing, start emailing, start doing whatever you can to stop this bill. This bill is the most draconian bill that's ever been tried to be pushed on the people to take away their health, take away their lives. They want you dead. They want 90% of us off the planet. I'm still trying to push people on that idea of what Agenda 21 is all about and the UN's control of it and of this country now. They're behind part of this. They're wanting you to take the poison. They want you to eat what they want to give you. Processed poison from the Food of Death Administration. So until next time, this is Spellbinder. Be good. Be good at it. Stop eating processed food. Buy only natural, fresh produce. Buy only everything you can from a nearby farm if you can. Until next time, be good at it. Good day.